Okay.
Just get we both know Kevin likes these really formal intros
Well,
at
this is
every
made for
section.
TV. This is a made for TV introduction.
Oh goodness.
Always a producer, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, April, good to see you again. I think was it were you
Was
at the were you
Pulse
at the
conference.
okay, yeah. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Well, good to see you again. So you've made some maneuvers of your own. I think you were working with Jay for a while. Is that right?
Yes, I was Jay's right hand for about 5.5 years.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
All right. And now you're with the
Yeah.
kind of for-profit entity and
So now I'm with AEG. Um, that kind of happened purposely but accidentally at the same
okay.
time. Um, I was actually trying, getting things going at UCLA at the business school, and I think the pandemic really made me kind of rethink what I was doing, what I wanted to do. And so I say, I love working with students. I love helping them find opportunities that are out there, because I feel like sometimes they limit themselves and they don't push themselves. One of my biggest words is mentorship. And so I didn't want to lose that component in my career. And so, but I needed more. And I feel like UCLA just wasn't it. And so in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh, it'd be so great if I could do university relations for SoFi, because I'm literally up the street from SoFi. And, just browsing LinkedIn, and I said, oh, it's university relations with AEG. And so I just applied, it was an easy apply. I didn't have to put too much to it. I always keep my resume updated. And 2 days later, a recruiter calls me, 4 rounds of interviews. I got offered the job. And I was just like, what did I just do? What the heck happened? So now I'm at AEG and as the university relations manager for their talent acquisitions department. And it's a position that is brand new. And I was very shocked that this organization in its capacity did not have that. And so I'm tasked to pretty much build their internship program, their university relations component. But one thing I'm learning with them, I've been so fast paced these past 9 years at UCLA, they like to crawl before they walk. So right now I'm working with HBCU in LA. I'm having conversations, but they are our partners now with UNCF. I'm working with College Promise Works, Hispanic Scholarship Fund, and I'm also working with AG's DEI department. So they have their own diversity partnerships that I'm working with, because they really want to diversify the talent pipeline, and they figure, why not start, at the internship level. And so that's where I'm focusing on now, but I want to grow that. And I'm still kind of getting my feet wet to see exactly what they want and how I could put, what I could do into this whole mix. And so that's why, talking to Kevin and hearing about the different initiatives that he's trying to, really get off the ground is important. And so yeah, so right now it's pretty much internship. I'm meeting a lot of different people at AEG. As we're having conversations, but eventually I like to bring in someone from the community affairs department to, eventually, but I just want to have more conversations and really get a strong pathway of, what is it that, what we're trying to do. I'm still very new. I'm only in my 6th week.
Wow.
So, I'm still meeting people. So I'm just, I want to be able to, 2023, I want to be able to bring in more and more and more. And so, but like I said, they crawl before they walk. And
Yeah.
it's kind of hard for me to kind of slow down because it's just but yeah, so that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm hoping to do.
Very cool.
Wow.
Well, a lot of questions came up while you're kind of giving me the download there, giving us the download. But I guess the big one that is a maybe bridge over to my story update for you is, and your 6-week assessment. What are like the top kind of like categories of talent that you sense AG is looking to kind of, bring in? Like what types of expertise or functional kind of roles?
I want to say across the board, the turnover is high at AEG, and it continues to be high. There's a gentleman that has been, I met like my first week, and I was like, oh, I want him to be my mentor. And he was the VP of Community Affairs. Well, he left, but he left to go to LA 28. So it's just like, that was huge for him. But as far as, when it comes to, students coming in, man, right now is the time, because if you guys heard on the news recently or right now, they're calling this period the Great Resignation. And in March alone, they said across the country, 4.5 million people resigned from their jobs in March alone. And it continues to go up. And having conversations with AEG, there have been a lot of rejections. And that's because people want to work remote. People don't want to come back into the office like they don't want to do the traditional 9 to 5. And so there's no policy. There's, like right now, it's just because our group as a collective has said, okay, we'll do, if you have an office, you work 4 days in the office, 1 day at home. If you have some kind of shared space, you work 3 days in the office and 2 days at home. Well, we have passed that, the mask mandate. People kind of got a hold of, COVID. And so it's like, that was the excuse previously. But to answer your question right now, if a student were to come to AEG, it's mainly, I'll say IT. It's getting into like partnerships and activation, our global partnerships. There's a lot, AEG is a live entertainment, we do crypto. And so there's a lot on the event management side, communications, that's something that they're looking for right now. Is the pay there though? These students have high expectations coming out of college. Now I work with a lot of recruiters, and there's a communications coordinator position that starts at, I think it's between 51 and 58. And you have college students that say, no, that's not enough for me. I'm like, when I came out of college, I mean, it's in LA, yes, I get it because it's expensive, but it's just like they're coming out with these high expectations. I was interviewing some students, and one student, an intern, and I just handle interns. They wanted to negotiate their compensation. I was like, you're an intern, I feel like we're failing our students. They're coming in with these high expectations. What's the word I'm looking for? They are, I don't want to use the word privilege. That's not the word I want to use.
Well, you can use that. You can. I mean, that Stacey Milner's husband.
But even in our underrepresented communities, and I get it, the people that they want to get paid, they want to make money, but for an intern, I have to tell intern, it's not about the compensation when you're an intern. It's about the experience that's the most valuable and who you're connected with. So, I was an AG intern several years ago, and I kept in touch with my boss. I want to say the same year you did posts. because you did it virtually, right, Lemire?
Yep.
Okay. I brought my internship boss, and look, I did an internship with AG back in 2006, and I brought her back. And, so when people, when I was my first week at AEG and I was doing introductory lunches, and I knew some of the people already, and so it's just like it's about the connections, it's about the experience. And then, once you do that, then you have a story to tell and things you could talk about. But yeah, so those are the type of internships that are open right now.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for that download, because that helped me kind of suss out a little bit of the things that I can potentially just, contribute any, resource directionality of things that I've seen or contributed to in terms of things like the communications group, which usually includes, writers, designers, content makers. And then there's the things like, IT, which, covers a lot of ground around the operational efficiencies, of course, but obviously it also means, engineering to a certain degree, or making selections of people that can kind of fold into things where I'm guessing you guys might have some proprietary software platforms and other things that need to have, people and talent that can come in and help those evolve. But yeah, it's a different day coming out of whatever we're currently dealing with right now, because it's an ongoing story. But I think the word that I kind of associated with it is, there's the privilege, there's the entitlement, and then there's the there's the kind of the hustle mentality, like hustling backwards. Actually, is what I'm saying. Like, it's a constant kind of like, I've got to have what I've got to have right now. I don't care about a year from now, 2 years from now. I can't think about that. What I've heard is my friend over there got that. I need that.
Exactly.
And I deal with it with my nieces, my nephews, and it's far and wide. It's not just LA. It's not just some of these categories. It is a mindset that is there. So finding the ones who've gotten at least access, if not exposure, to what it means to build a relationship with a professional, to what it means to join a professional community, and to do some things with that community as opposed to just extract from it. So anyway, I'll get off the pulpit because I'm preaching to the choir here, but the idea of, the talent pools that I've been associated with, like the one in Art Center in Pasadena, where there's an interesting kind of like split from the jump when it comes to an institution that's small and elite, but it gets a lot of attention, particularly on the recruiting side and on the talent pool side, both from the people who've graduated from there or the people who've gone there for like, additional education courses after they've done a program, or they're doing something else, the at night program. But then there's the people who don't finish and get the degree, but they're still treated as part of the larger community of alumni, and they come back quite often.
Yeah.
Can I
stop? I have to sign for a package. 1 second.
Hey, Lemire, have you recaptured, or can you remember anything that LAEDC was doing at the time that made them interesting to you? Because I have a meeting with the second in command under the CEO Bill Allen. At some point today, she just emailed to say that she needs to talk to me about an opportunity, not only for funding, but for partnership. So I'm going to send you, I don't know if you can, be available, but they are hunting down someone to help them with a need to plug into talent at LAEDC. So this is way above Jessica Kukim and the people that we met.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I still have relative connectivity with Jessica and Steven Chung. But I haven't talked to them for a while. They had that thing they were doing with, as you know, what's it called? Radio.
Yeah.
And I had connected them with a couple of people on that front, and haven't honestly checked in because I know the lady Claire.
Yeah,
I
Claire
think
left.
she bounced and went to grad school, and then
Yeah.
another lady, Dolores. I think she also switched
So
up
here's
and
the
did a
here's
new
the new
program.
lady. She's her name is Barbara Levine. She's also a member of Club Core. So anyway, just, so April's back. I'm sorry, April. Where did we left?
No, you're totally fine. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just put some stuff in the chat box. Before we break, I wanted to explain these links that I put in there. But
Okay, I'm copying them right now. I'm trying to pull up my notepad. But go ahead, I'm listening, Kevin.
Okay, so
Yeah.
where were we before I kind of read?
Yeah, I was just starting to kind of talk about some of the talent pools that I am a part of and or frequent, and could make some introductions if April was interested in those pools. I think the notion that some of the folks that are in the heart of the city, let's say, right, are one thing, but one of the things that kind of came up was the people that have moved out to the Inland Empire or to kind of the North Valley, I guess is what it is. They need they need access. A lot of them are really hungry, and so programs that are designed to kind of go and place satellites out there in those zones would be great. That was one of the things that Kevin kind of hit me to is, and also some of the folks at the arts division of the city here let me know that, hey, we really wanted to make sure that people that are at the extreme kind of edges of LA are aware that these things are even available, and then frankly that they've kind of shown more hunger for these opportunities than the folks in the heart of the city, and then the folks who are the community colleges and so forth, all stuff that better than me. But there's a process of kind of I guess almost like selection and filtering that a place like AG definitely has to have its own method for. Even down to like not just the interview process, but depending on the role and actual practical, right? I don't know if that's the thing that you guys are doing, but it kind of like cuts the wheat from the chaff right away. Of like, if you're not willing to even do this little 1 hour exercise with me, then we shouldn't even carry the conversation any further. We don't even need to get into you negotiating more money because you won't even do the work. So there are things like that frankly I recommend in terms of like, okay, if the hiring manager is able to coalesce some sort of simulation around what that's going to be, and then getting that opportunity out to as many people who want to hear about it, and using that as another bellwether, it's a huge difference maker. I saw it work really well for me for about 4 years at BCG. So there's that, but I think that particularly with some of the campaigns and or the kind of career fairs like Kevin's talking about, that's the biggest question that I would think most employers, especially you all, is like, who am I hiring? Are they really good at what they do? And are they going to come in here and do the right things?
Right. Exactly.
Because that's not something you can get out of a what is it called, a flash encounter, right? Like, I met them in an interview and they sounded really good, but then what happened?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, definitely. These resources are very, very helpful. And I definitely would like to tap in more. If you could, make those connections, Lamira. I mean, that would be very helpful.
Yeah. So I'll connect you with so for instance, Art Center, they have a whole group professional development team that focuses on these things, and you can design any type of program you want with them, to even be a featured group that gets to talk to specialized majors and to zero in on specific ethnic, gender, location.
Okay.
It's an international school, so you can imagine it's a big population coming from Asia, coming from the Middle East.
Okay.
But the ones who are from the West Coast or East Coast or South, wherever, you can kind of ask them to really tailor that in, and particularly with the alumni as well.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
And April,
yeah, and that's how.
Are you familiar with the Art Center for Design? I mean, do you know kind of a little bit more context to who they may be in the kind of animal in the zoo of talent? Because I didn't know much about them until Lemur told me.
Are you talking about? You're not talking about Otis, are you? Otis
No.
College? Okay, then no.
Yeah, so Art Center for Design, Lemur, if you can, because I really believe that they're kind of the the missing piece for recruiters. But the recruiters who do know about them, they pluck a lot of talent from there.
Well, look, I mean, Otis is a great school, right? Some of the faculty from Art Center that live on the west side don't want to make the commute up to the hills of Pasadena, so they are at Otis. So there's definitely a great relationship between the two schools. The models are a bit different. Some of the different majors, we don't have fashion, for instance, at Art Center, but the background is effectively that Art Center is a institution that's sprung out of the Bauhaus tradition, a German kind of design thing that gets lauded quite heavily. But they were basically a hybrid between that and a GI program in the early 20th century, where they basically had a military approach to how these veterans would come in, pick up industry skills related to using their art and design kind of talents. And that then became, a thing from the 50s, 60s, 70s that just really blew up in corporate America. And ever since, that period where you had really successful people coming out and working at the Nikes and the, all the major corporates and becoming the heads of design there, it became both a practical and a commercial center of excellence globally. And it still is. But the types of talent that's kind of weaving in and around now, they have a good hybrid kind of blend of, deep work ethic and high craft kind of professionalism. And so that's the thing when you start to talk about communications and design, there's always levels, right, of what type of talent and what type of work product that they are responsible for or known for, and these guys and girls are striving for that higher level. And there's definitely a good swath of Black and brown folks that got the message that this was a thing this last decade, more so than they did 20, 30 years ago, right? And frankly, the parents are more willing to let them go in and get the shot at bat in these spaces now. So for instance, one of them, I don't know if it's going to be exactly relevant, but there's a guy named Dwayne Edwards. Dwayne was from Inglewood, and he now is partnered with Art Center as the Pacific Northwest kind of school ecosystem partner. So he was a Nike designer, actually led Jordan brand for many years, and has built a academy dedicated around sneaker design for Black and brown people to understand and to participate in the things that they've gotten so woven into from a culture standpoint. So he's got partnerships with HBCUs and so forth. And depending on the projects and so forth, he'll take on sponsorships from the big brands and do different things. So again, I'm not sure if that's at all relevant for AEG.
No, actually it is. It's relevant because I don't know if you know, but AEG, we're the ones that run Coachella. And so, yeah. And so, like I said, Like I'm still learning, I'm still getting things going over here, but we cross over a lot with our DEI department. And so during Coachella, they had a vendor out there that only sold, it was just for Black designers.
Okay.
So, you know, you'll be amazed on all the stuff that we actually tap into.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, that's very relevant. I love it.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of just like really great creative energy kind of coming out of so many different sectors here in LA. But I think tapping in and getting you connected to some of those folks who are leading those relationship initiatives would be great for you. Just
Definitely.
kind of download like what's the spectrum of things that you're kind of looking to activate. Like the Coachella thing would really explode people's minds. I was looking at your Coachella website. You have an NFT.Coachella website now, right? Where you guys are kind of opening up that whole arena around what it's like to go to a concert, right? What it's like to have a relationship with those artists through these technologies.
Exactly.
And so I think the more that people can understand, like that group of talent that we were talking about before, that is kind of coming in with the helium heads, you know, if they actually knew you guys were the ones behind Coachella, they might humble themselves a little bit and say, oh, I want to be in the mix on that, whatever that takes to learn that.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. But yeah, no, you know, just you'll be amazed at all of the things that we you know, that we do, and how we just cross over. Yeah, yes, it's live events, yes, it's sports, but you know, even when we talk about sustainability, you know, and the things during Coachella, they had people to, I think almost it's almost like a contest where they had people to design like recycle bins. One person did Star Wars, you know, just to attract people to recycle and all that stuff. But you know, it's just we tap into everything.
Yeah, really cool. And then, you know, the other thing I would say is, you know, I'm curious to know like your national outreach. Like, if you were talking to people who are at, you know, let's say a school in Atlanta or a school in Tennessee or something like that. Again, they tend to be hungry to get over here.
Well, one thing about AG, we're just not LA based, and so it's what we call AG Presents. So AG Presents, they're the ones that put on concerts. They're the ones that put on Coachella. And so I'm learning more and more. And people who've been there 4 or 5 years are also learning that, still learning where AG has, you know, these pockets around the world. But I'm actually working with the head of HR in Atlanta right now, because you know, working with the HBCUs, I want to tap into the Atlanta University complex. And so working with Spelman, Morehouse, Clark, to, you know, get those students a part of AEG. And you know, the best way I explain to people when it comes to AEG, we're this powerhouse brand behind these powerhouse brands.
Yeah.
So it's like people don't know, like everybody knows who, you know, what Coachella is. Well, do people know that AEG puts on Coachella? Or everybody knows what's crypto.com. I'm still trying to not say Staples Center, but do you know that AEG, that's their real estate? You know, so yeah, so you know, that's why, you know, we're pushing to really get our company out there, especially to these college students, because they have absolutely no clue. So yeah.
Even though,
so yeah, I am working with someone in Atlanta. She pretty much takes care of like the Carolinas, Georgia. I believe she also Tennessee. So they're building like entertainment district in Tennessee to kind of replicate LA Live. And so yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
New York.
What's that?
I said New York as well. I was just talking to someone yesterday who's looking for an intern, but he's in New York at the Bowery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But just real quick on the on my side, you know, when I met Kevin and leading up until the fall of last year around October, you know, Valence was getting the majority of my time, you know, kind of getting that up and running and seeing how that was going. And it's still going, right? But then there was some stuff that harkened back to some projects that I'd done in 2016 and 17 in the blockchain space. And a lot of those folks that I was working with are part of Origyn, which is it's a foundation partially in Switzerland. That's something you see quite a bit of, that there's usually some offshore entity that a lot of these crypto companies have as frankly a legal and a formation kind of hedge. Singapore, Switzerland, increasingly Dubai are kind of some of the places. I think crypto.com itself is, I think they're Hong Kong / Singapore, but nonetheless, the foundation then has these different endeavors, right, that they kind of basically treat as ventures. So there's a for-profit kind of enterprise group that does operations work. It's kind of like, well, the model is literally like the AG model, right? That there's different entities within. And so I'm focused here in LA with the digital media ecosystem build out. And so what can we do with regard to providing authenticity and robust capability sets using blockchain infrastructure? We're using a different protocol than Ethereum or some of the others that have been around for a while. We interoperate with them, but the way this system is designed is that it's got no gas fees, for instance, which is a big problem that most experience. And it also has the ability to store your actual assets on the blockchain itself. You're not outsourcing that back, ironically, to Amazon Web Services and Google and all these other things that are Web 2 centric. This is all self-contained. So we've worked on a lot of things that have been in the luxury space first, you know, watches and provenance around that, and how do you really take a biometric scan of what that thing is and then create it on the blockchain and have a certificate and insurance and all that stuff. We're also doing that with fine art, you know, typically paintings right now. And then with media, it's, you know, all the fun stuff that we see that people are doing with illustrated monkeys and all that stuff, right? We'll be launching in that space as well, in terms of some of the content with creators who have, you know, basically entrusted us and said, hey, look, you know, I've got a brand that I've had for 20 plus years. I can't be out here in these streets looking like I'm, you know, just following a fad. I need this to really be part of my business. How does that work? And so we're making sure that everything that they're doing is, again, secure. It's part of their ecosystem, and it brings their fans in to this new world where there's other new fans that'll discover it too. And so to wrap up, you know, a lot of what we're also trying to do is make that bridge between the real world and this kind of metaverse, multiverse world idea a real thing. So we think about a club getting some activity to happen with this NFT as a key, or as like a membership kind of entitlement, that someone from this new generation, they can be proud that, hey, I'm part of this new legacy that's building out. So that's part of what we were discussing with the properties of, you know, Club Corp / Invited. What could they offer? And potentially, if and when it makes sense, that an NFT like thing or a bundle of digital value is the kind of connector between a mentor and a mentee, or a mentor and many mentees in a class, where there's content and information that they get exclusive access to and unlock, but also there's rewards and other things for participating. That's a sweet spot that we're really excited about.
Great.
That is awesome.
And I know you guys have got to bounce in a few minutes, so if I can rifle through some of these links so that we can actually try and pull all of these potential resources into one space, a virtual and a physical space, that I believe should be more of a planning think tank about consensus on how can we find a way to get some of the people who are just not aware of an aggregation of efforts to get better at getting people better prepared for readiness and for prep to even get an interview with someone like you or your HR people, because that's where I think the biggest problem is for a lot of the students that I work with at USC, UCLA. No one's ever told them that they're going to have to work as an intern or a entry-level position. They're going to have to run a desk. They're going to have to do something beyond run the company when they come out of school.
Yeah.
And if they never heard it before.
Yeah, I really think with this generation, you know, honestly, I don't think they want to work. And when I say they don't want to work, it's they have a very entrepreneurial mindset, and that's great. That is awesome. And even in these organizations, I feel like you have to come in within an organization with an entrepreneurial mindset. And be as creative and different, because even in you know, in the interview process, you have to be different from the next person that you're competing to get that particular position. I was just talking to a woman yesterday who's looking for both a social media intern and a social media coordinator. She does not know, you know, everything there is to do in Instagram. She pretty much has Facebook down. Older white woman. But as far like TikTok, like she said, I have no clue what that is, but I need someone who can run TikTok, even though AEG does not have a TikTok.
Wow.
Not yet.
Right. And so she was like, you know, not yet. No, they're working on it, but they don't have it yet. But she was saying how these students who are applying to this particular position, she's going onto their TikToks or their social media, and she's saying, okay, if they don't have a TikTok, I don't want to talk to them. If they don't have a following, I don't want to talk to them. So she's looking for someone who's building their own brand, you know, on social. So it's like they have to come up with, you know, with these entrepreneurial mindsets. So that's the kind of readiness that these students have today. And then unfortunately, Kevin, I told you this when we had lunch at the City Club, is COVID did something to our students, unfortunately. And it takes like the three of us on this call to kind of catch them up. But that's if they're willing to even listen and do. I wish I could share with you the resumes that I am getting from our HBCU students.
Oh my goodness.
They're putting their pictures on their resumes, and most of these pictures are not even professional headshots. These are the pictures that they have on their social media pages. I have one young man. I mean, he was suited and booted, but he's kneeling on the sidewalk with some glasses, looking up. I'm like, who told him that was okay?
Yeah, no.
Who told him that was okay? So one of the things, you know, the internship program this summer at AEG is, you know, I'm doing resume review with these kids. I'm doing mock interviews with these kids, students. Stop calling them kids, because they don't know. Like it's like no one. They don't know any better. No one. I had one young guy to meet with our VP of ticketing, young Black woman. Her name is Rhea Roberts, the VP of ticketing at AEG, and we prepped him. Like we prepped the students before they even go to the hiring managers. Okay, what are you going to say? What are you going to wear? Okay, make sure that you really, you know, focus this on, you know, that's in your resume. This young man, he was ready. It was time for him to talk to Rhea and one other gentleman. He started trying to push his mixtape. I'm dead serious right now. I am dead serious right now. And it's just like something, it's like I'm just saying, it's going to take So when it comes to, put me on the panel, I'll be happy to speak and tell students what to do, what not to do. Because even if you try to tell these students, they don't want to listen.
Right.
They don't want to listen. They want to negotiate an internship compensation. That's what they want to do.
What I found from being in front of some of the younger waves this last like 10 years, frankly, the more that I could simulate so that they can almost gamify like the wrongs and the rights, the more success I found that they actually engage with it. The more I talk verbally or even just pointed at a case study, the more it just was noise to them. So I don't know if there's any way that, either through role playing or something, but just something around the fact that, this is real talk. This is not like, another parental lecture that you involuntarily are getting on your way to what you really want to get. This is the real end game, is you actually growing as a professional, and getting that through is no easy task. But just saying, because the amount of times that I hear about the story that you just out, like, not that one, because that's a new one. That one I gotta use in many different contexts. But
yes,
but just like all the like weird moments of unbelievable no self-awareness having stuff, where, to your point at the beginning, like the whole mentor thing, like, there's content out there, right? Like literally there's content on the platforms that they inhabit, but they're not engaging with it. They're not getting it because I think there's a sheltered aspect to their entitlement right now. And as they're coming out of it, and or they, school time is running out. Okay, now what kind of game do you have? Do you really know what you're doing?
Right. Exactly.
Well, hey, guys, with the few minutes we have remaining, what I'm going to try and do is tie together some things that I'd like you to consider, April. We had a conversation with Club Corps, who's now called Invited. And I don't know if you knew this, but the City Club LA is one of over 30 clubs that are part of the Club Corps network around the country, or actually around the world. And so they're the largest owner of private clubs and private club membership experiences in the world. And so what I thought about was, how can I invite Origyn Foundation Leimert to talk to them about their global initiatives in trying to educate their membership and their corporation about how they can, reshape the mindset of people who have kind of gone to community, who thought about the internet now as the way for them to connect with the people that they are like-minded and like-spirited. But we now know, without much conversation, is that the internet is not the end-all be-all to connecting to true and trusted sources in these communities. And so people are now starting to possibly look back at getting into private silos where they can trust people that have the same, same degree of interest and emotional intelligence. And so I'm looking to try and connect all of the Club Corps people to some call to action. And the call to action is really how to take all of their professionals and create mentors out of them across their whole network of companies. And so my goal is to try and use the City Club LA to create a pilot project. So that's why I'm looking to create an experience that with Leimert's help, we can connect all the things we know about something called Web 3.0. Have you ever heard that term? Yeah. So most people haven't, and I just heard it for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and Leimert gave me a pretty good understanding of it. But 3.0 is something that I want all students, faculty, and people in the community of HR to know this is where skill sets, mindsets have to go to get people more competitive, especially Black and brown people. And if they don't know about 3.0, then they know about 2.0. And if they don't know about 2.0, what about 1.0? So the problem is that I don't think anybody knows about this dynamic of 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Our solution is to put people in the same room, the same space, to give them entree to what has occurred, what's happening, and what's going to happen with the future of basically industry. And so that's kind of where these links, and I'll start from the bottom up. The first link, when you can copy it, is a guy named Ted Milner. He's Stacy Milner's husband, and he runs Executive Temps, which is their placement part of the house. HBC in LA has a company that places people, and they place people in temp jobs. And Ted's narrative is that a lot of these people that he tries to interview don't know that their first job is going to be running someone's desk or doing something that's going to be relevant to someone else and not themselves. The second link is what we did. Ted was one of the keynote speakers. We also had a guy named Ted Lai, who was at the time, head of Apple Education. He's now the vice president of the 116th community college called Calbreak. The third one, again, is Club Corps. And all these people have something in common with respect to this event that I'm going to try and pull off. Then we have Origyn Foundation. The next one is DOD. I have a relationship with the Pentagon, and they are serving all of the minority serving institutes, including all of the HBCUs, and providing them with resources, funding, and jobs, especially in STEM. Then we have Ted Lai, again, from Apple. Let me go back up here. We have the LA County Arts Education Collective. The County Board of Supervisors has a program that they recruit some of the 18 to 25-year-olds to become peer-to-peer ambassadors. And I've actually recruited several people to the LA County Arts Collective where they get paid $5,000 over the course of the summer to be the face of the county in terms of trying to reach young people where they are. The next is the LA City Youth Works Program. They are the people who are now helping me with getting young people who have already been vetted and have literally been supported with funding so that I, as Kevin Clark and my organization, Dakar, can hire them to work on projects, real work experience with time cards and expectations, but the city will pay them. Pays them up to $15 an hour, and they have over 100 hours of workforce. They have 20 hours of workforce readiness, and all of this is at $15 a head, and all of this is to be managed by someone like myself. The next person is LAEDC. Are you familiar with them? Los Angeles. Yeah, so they're an organization that used to run the Center for Competitive Workforce for the California community colleges and the California State Universities here in Southern California. They're now probably the default organization to put together reports on industries that have growth in California, especially in Southern California. They do a lot of workshops and a lot of analytics around where things are going, not just in workforce, but in everything that will allow organizations to buy their reports. Mentoring.org. Mentorship is really the key thing that I would like to include in any event, is the best practices of mentorship. And so we became an organization who is a member of mentoring.org, but it's best practices of all the things we've learned about mentoring, group mentoring, electronic mentoring, peer-to-peer mentoring, segment mentoring. So mentoring.org. And then the Academy of Software Foundation. Have you ever heard of them? Academy of Software Foundation. So they are the organization that is doing a lot of mentoring in the areas of design, engineering around digital media. So the Academy Awards, the Grammys, and the Emmys are all members of them, but they're an open source organization with all the studios that are interested in collaborating on ways to create solutions that they can share open source. And they created a diversity initiative to try and get more people of color, but also gender and sexual orientation into these industries. Unfortunately, it's really underrepresented for people of color. It's more about, you know, women and sexuality that have gotten the benefit of their internships and their jobs. And then last but not least, this one may be the most important one. I had a conversation with this young lady who heads the California Community College Chancellor's Foundation, and they have all the funding for creating new, hopefully sustainable solutions to help grow the numbers of people who get placements in the California Community College system. And their initiative at California Community Colleges is apprenticeships, which is not something that people are really aware of what an apprenticeship is in terms of a differentiation between internships, but it's something that they're pliable with how they can grow their initiative. And they want to have a discussion with, you know, my partners, Dakar's partners. And so I want to put all these people in one room, in one space, on a calendar date. And I'd love to have you consider being a speaker, but also bringing any partners or resources you can into this one space. And what we've thought about is having an event maybe as a back to school event towards the end of August. Most community colleges and California state universities go back in August, but this would be an event not unlike Pulse, where we can invite people into a place. The City Club holds about 1,000 people in one of their ballrooms, but it'd be an invitational, and we can have an agenda that could be worked on that would allow everybody that you would see as a missing piece in the puzzle to be part of. So I'll rest, you know, and ask any questions, suggestions, or comments about this.
I think that would be a phenomenal event. I would love to take part in it. You know, let's keep on having this conversation as you continue to build it. But yeah, I think this will be great.
Okay, Mer, any questions, suggestions, or comments before we break?
Just echoing what April just laid out there. Continue to develop it, and it's great to see you again in April. And congrats on the new context as you're setting it all up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, hey, I'm really proud of myself. We got out of here right on 10 o'clock. So again, you guys are released. Have a great weekend, and I will be continuing to build a template for us to look at how this thing shapes up. Okay.
All right, you guys take care. Thank you. Great talking. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.